Hello, AI people. Welcome to the second episode of the Gen AI CIO. And I have Rishabh with me. Quick intro. I'm the founder and CEO of Lizer.ai, an enterprise Gen AI platform. And Rishabh is the co-founder and chief business officer of GoML.io, a custom generative AI application development company. So, with that intro, we'll kind of dive in straight away into this week's updates, AI updates. We have 10 interesting bits to bring to you. So, I'll probably ask Rishabh to go ahead with the first one.
All right. Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to the second episode. Really excited to share these updates, but I think we will get started with because Amazon is the flavor of the season. We just, or probably today is the last day of reInvent. Well, Shiva and I missed it this year, sadly, right, due to personal reasons. But next week we'll probably cover more updates from reInvent perspective. But I think one of the most interesting, announcements from reInvent was Amazon now catching up to the game and announcing Amazon Q, right? Which while we haven't tried it yet, we will start trying this out since this is now available in the builder mode as well. Uh, is pitched as kind of a personal assistant, right? Which can be leveraged either by businesses or developers alike, right? So Amazon claims that this their out of box integration with Salesforce, Microsoft Office 365 tools and whatnot, right? But how useful this remains, how consumable this remains is something that will need to be tested. But today they offer this in two flavors. One is for businesses where it integrates with your business applications and business data, which is available for almost $20 per user per month. But then there's a AWS or the builder version as well, which specializes on the AWS services, AWS support that you need, infrastructure support that you need. And that comes at a $25 per month per user offering, right? So interesting offering would be, this is something that we are definitely going to leverage for a couple of our projects. We'll start experimenting this, right? But just one point, right, before I hand it over to Shiva, is that it clearly comes out that Amazon is now playing a good catch-up role in the whole Gen AI space. So last week we announced Party Rock, right, which probably could be the answer to GPT Builder, right? Well, Amazon Q, right, has come recently, could be their answer to Copilot, right? At least that's how they're pitching, right? So yeah, so good updates from Amazon's side, and it seems how probably well this will come out, right?
I'll tell you, I, I don't think Amazon Q is a co-pilot competition. I feel Amazon took inspiration from these startups again, like we discussed in the last episode.
Mm.
They take inspirations. All the big companies actually they find inspiration from popular startups. When I saw the Amazon Q news, the one when the moment you shared it, right? I could immediately think of a company called Pump.co, Pump.co. I think they did a pretty good job in implementing GPT for operations quite early. So Pump.co came into picture and came to my mind. They do two things. Pump.co, I think they give you the reserved instances at an on in an on-demand model at a reserved instance price, and then they also give you the support aspect, like you can use GPT to ask any DevOps related queries. So yeah, I think that is a big. I don't know what's the impact on Pump.co. And the other startup that I follow closely is a company called Clue, KLU, Clue.so. So they have again built a query engine that can query across Slack and Office 365 and Gmail and Dropbox. Amazon Q actually does these two things that the other two startups do. So let's see what's the adoption. Rishabh, you and I know Amazon did not get a lot of things right. They don't get, I mean, they've been missing their mark in the last few years, be it Amazon IQ or be it even Amazon QuickSight for that matter.
Generative
So
BI
let's,
on QuickSight, right?
yeah.
So, but see, just one point, and Shivan, you obviously have been like quite an early adopter of AWS. I think you've been in this business for almost what 11, 12 years now, right? I've been with Amazon for almost 8 years, right? See, the strategy play that initially it was more of enablement, right, where they actually gave you platforms and services to build your own applications, right? But lately they've started building applications, and good you brought up that startup point, right, which are consumable workloads, right? So something like Party Rock, right, which could be completely consumable, right? Now, Q, which again is an end product or a consumable product, right? So, so while I totally agree from your point that they're really playing the catch up game right now in the GenAI space, at least, right? But that's where the whole strategy is also changing from the overall adoption perspective.
No, I mean, yeah, they should probably do a better job like what Bard does with Google. I mean, Google at least, well, Bard was terrible. They at least open it to everyone to use. You can see Amazon queues available only for their users and etc. etc. Party rocks,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I need to try them. So hopefully Amazon does a better job at it, not stick to B2B. Actually, come out and do some B2C actually. So let's see how this goes.
Great.
Okay.
All right, let's move to the next update then. Right, and this is again probably a very interesting update in the startup space. So this is with Pika Labs, right, uh, which surprisingly is a US-based startup with Chinese co-founders, right. This very young startup, right? They started off in April as a text to video converter, right? Obviously in the space that the other some startups are, but they've had a really good journey. One of the things that the founders are very clear is, and before I actually get into the details, the update primarily is that they just closed a huge funding round, right? And this actually brings right from their inception till date, they're now including their seed and series A, they're now at a $55 million check, right? Which is in less than 8 months they've gone up to that number, right?
I'm not too thrilled
So
about that, to be honest. I mean, funding, I mean, there are companies raising even gigantic amount of funding. What's really cool is the
but
video, the
correct.
quality of
Yeah.
video. Yeah,
Exactly right. So I was just checking. Well, I've not used the tool, but I was just checking this on post on Twitter. Right. Sorry, X. Shiva. Is that the quality of the video, and one thing that they've actually done now is that it's text to video and then image to video also that they're actually their platform is now
nice.
giving, right. So Pika 1.0 is what they've labeled this as, right. But I think one thing that these guys are clear, while the other startups are focusing more on monetizing these platforms now, but one thing that these two founders are very clear about is that they want to this year they just want to build the platform, like they're not even looking to monetize their platform yet. Next year is when they probably plan on taking this live from monetization perspective, right. So I think this is they're building the platform right now, but instead of just jumping into the bandwagon, right.
No, no, good. I mean, that's a good strategy. It's a good strategy to kind of understand. Build, continue to showcase what you're building, but don't go to market because the market will come to you if you do that. If you continue to
Exactly.
produce fantastic product out, the market will come to you. They will there'll be a beeline and they'll start asking, hey, when can I work on the technology? And that allows somebody like Pika to work in a stealth mode with many customers uh, and improve their model so that they know when they are ready. This is a really good model, but unfortunately, 99.9999% of startups don't get to do this or cannot do this because you need deep pockets to do this. I mean, for people like us, we have to hustle from day one. We don't have a choice. But yeah, if you raise that much money and if the investors are okay and if the founders have belief in their system, in what they're building, they can definitely follow this model. Fantastic model. This is, I would probably at least say all the other highly funded startups should do something like this instead of putting out
Yeah.
really half-baked products out. If you have money, use it, man. Use it for good things. I mean, use it. When I say use it for good thing, use it for really good purpose to build out a fantastic product out. Don't put it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Google marketing and burn and get a half-cooked product out to customers. And then we end up paying $20, $30 subscription fee and we burn our pockets. So yeah, I would probably buy a toy for my kid rather subscribe for a half-cooked product. Yeah, half-baked
Yeah,
product.
that will give you 2 hours of additional calls, right, Shiva? But just one point, right? Well, obviously, it's on a side note. See, one of the reasons that is also touted for this. While I'm not questioning the capabilities of the platform or the founders, is when I'm missing the name of the company. But one of the founders is supposedly the daughter of a tech tycoon from China, and probably they've also invested a heavy amount and earned, or probably from the overall shares perspective. But again, I'm not questioning the overall capabilities of the platform. But I mean, I just read this on the side note. I'm forgetting the name of the company right now.
Huawei.
Yeah, not Huawei. I think it's Sun Texas. Again, I'm missing the name of the company. Right.
But what is the
So
context?
yeah.
What are you trying to say? Do you say that it might probably raise concerns in the US market to adopt Pika big time? Or, or,
Exactly.
or
And
are
one of the
people already
reasons,
using this to position, or competitors
see, it's a
probably are
very
trying to use this as a strategy to push Pika? Okay.
so it's a very competitive market, right, Shiva? And getting funding at this higher level in this market, one obviously is you need to have a very brilliant platform or promising set. So one thing that I missed is that the founders are Stanford graduates, right? So obviously,
Yeah, Stanford and
there's some
Harvard grads. Yeah.
yeah. So that part also, but then there's some grapevine that a lot of money has been invested from the founders' father as well, right? So just as a side note, right? So I think next, update primarily very interesting. I'm super excited about it. Is that Google has invested $4 million in CoRover, right? Uh, and for a lot of folks who do not who do not know CoRover.ai, CoRover.ai is the inventor of BharatGPT, right? Which is one of the most strong GPTs built for Indian languages. I think it supports close to 120 plus Indian languages and 20 foreign, 20 Indian languages and 120 plus foreign languages, right? And I think while the other models like GPTs and the others of the world are now going multimodal, they've been multimodal for a long time. Like they allowed you interaction with text, voice, images, like for quite a long time, right? So
I haven't
I think
I
the
haven't worked
company
on
is.
it. I need to probably work on it and see how good it is. I didn't get a chance. I haven't played around actually. So
So Shiva, one and before I get into that, right? So it's not a new company. They're 2016 company, and Shiva, we should be relating to Ankush, who's the founder, because he started it with his first paycheck, right? So probably deja vu for you, right? And he's brought the company to this level now, right? But I
nice.
think what's happening now with CodeOver is that the credentials itself are speaking, and probably you would understand, but our viewers also need to understand that Indian market in terms of bots, especially NLP based conversations, is a very tough market to navigate, right? And we've seen this when we were also running our previous startup, and we had our product, right, Era, which then evolved into Botser. One of the primary reasons is the language, like the language barrier. That while we do say English is the official language of India, but then you've got so many dialects available, Indian dialects like Hindi, Tamil, Telugu. I think we are one of the most diverse countries in that world, in that form. But CoreOver has already done that, right? So sure, I'm not aware of you've heard of IRCTC, which is the Indian Railways website for
Yeah,
India.
yeah.
I don't think so. Any other website in the world, right, probably has these many. So they've got close to 330 million hits per day, right, and close to 5
Okay.
million unique visitors on a daily basis, right. And
Yeah.
CodeOver has been powering their chatbot for almost a couple of months now, right. So same for the Life Insurance Corporation of India, which is again the biggest insurance provider in India, and so on and so forth, right. So their credentials are being validated by the use case that they've been implementing, and if you actually visit their website, at nowhere they're speaking about terms like context length, right, or probably other terms that we generally see with other GPTs, right. So what I've really liked about their marketing, or probably at least what they're promoting from the perspective, is a the use case validation that they've done. Number two, the regulations and
But have
compliances. So
you
they're
have you tried your hand at the
I,
IRCTC bot? How would you
I
compare
have.
that with ChatGPT quality?
I in fact booked the ticket, Shiva, right? So while I will not say that I was super impressed, but it did the job, right? And especially with different dialogues, I spoke to it in Hindi, right? English. That's I think more than Hindi, English is used in India, right? So it was pretty. It was able to understand most of the dialects, right? I did not get irritated at any point, right? Which is a good, way to navigate any kind of an NLP system, right? So
What
yeah,
is
so it
what
was
is it?
pretty.
Do they use something like 11 labs or assembly where translation is handled and then they use GPT in the backend for reasoning?
No, so
or do
Bharat
they
GPT is
or
something that they claim that they built from the scratch, right? So it doesn't leverage any of the other models, right? And what they also claim, again, while we are not available, sorry,
no,
you
I
said.
see all the research papers that if we read, I mean, what GPT-4 has done, and imagine with, I'm not even doubting anyone for any reason. I'm just curious. With so many millions of dollars, Anthropic could not get it right still. What GPT-4 has done. So does every other model. I think the verdict is out in the public. And we had this guy Killian from Open Interpreter who actually even asked an OpenAI developer in the Dev Day conference, where I think the developer from OpenAI mentioned that there are like million things that they've done, million little things that they've done to make the model work better. So I'm just trying to understand if they built
So,
from scratch, what do they use? Did they use their own weights to the whole thing? What is the core language that was built on? Was it like English as the core language and then translation on top? Lot of questions. I need to study. Yeah, I don't think this is the right
exactly.
arena to ask, but I need to
And
obviously study this.
Ankush's statement obviously is primarily focused more on how they started this, right? So probably they did not start with a general model that they started building, right? They started with domain specific use cases, right? And that's how they started building the accuracy. But you're absolutely right, Shiva. I think, and a lot of their website doesn't say a lot about the technology. And that's what I was trying to highlight. So what their marketing is around the validated use cases and the compliances that they built, right? So it's IFC
Understood.
compliant,
Yeah,
right?
I got it. Yeah,
And
I
so,
understand. No, eventually, see, the
but
point is,
but that,
the point I want to make here is it's not about the technology, how it works. I was just curious to ask to know what was it. Yeah, as long as it solves a customer problem, fantastic.
I
Doesn't
agree.
matter, right? It could be
It
just hard coding like we used to do back in our days. We just hard coded all the question answers in a chatbot. Yeah, as long as it answers the solves the customer problem, fantastic. Yeah,
That's what his statement also is, that they started with domain specific use cases. It's not like they started developing a general model, right? So yeah, I'm pretty happy about the update, right? And apparently they're going to invest this for further expansion, right? So
nice,
kudos to them. Right.
nice. Congrats, guys.
So there's a big news for the Indian sector. Last week it was Rephrase, which got an investor, got acquired by Adobe, and today we hear about CoRover. Although CoRover is not an Indian headquartered company, by the way, it's headquartered in
Yeah,
London.
no, Perplexity, it's a fantastic company. Lot of, I mean, the quality of research that you could do in Perplexity compared to ChatGPT, even during the 3.5 days, are pretty good. But I think they are pivoting. They continue to pivot. They're pivoting now, if I understand. They're no more looking at a ChatGPT competition. They're getting into more of an API level competition. So Perplexity launched the 7 billion and the 70 billion model built on I think Mistral and Llama, and they supposedly, I mean, does better on the research side. I have to still try my hands at it, but always be have been a fan of Perplexity, what they bring to the table. So hopefully something that we could all try. And I think that is the way forward if you see for all these companies who started initially out as a competitor to OpenAI. Now, like I said in the previous thing, the gap between OpenAI and the next best thing keeps increasing. So there are folks like Anthropic and Google's Gemini, which might continue to go in that direction, but companies like Perplexity are taking the other direction, wherein, hey, you know what? Let Meta and Mistral and all these build open source, and I'll build on the open source, like Hugging Face does. So to me, Perplexity is kind of a hybrid between a Hugging Face and a use case like say research oriented API, etc. I'm yet to I want to probably study more, try my hands at it, how good it is. But yeah, it's a good, interesting business model. We need to see how companies adopt it.
But I think one, if I get it right here, one update that they definitely have brought with this particular LLM is that it has real time access to the data, right, or the internet data, like open data, right. And I was just, although this paper is still under review, and I'm going to share this paper link with the along with our podcast when we released this for our readers to read it. But there was a paper that was written, which is primarily fresh LLMs paper, right? And what it was trying to a certain primarily is that refreshing LLMs, right, with search engine type of a data or real time data, right? How does it affect their accuracy, right? Well, we all know that more the data you give to your models, the hallucination increases, the accuracy of the models go down, and so on and so forth. Right? But it had very what really impressed me about the paper was that it actually, especially for models like these which now have access to real-time data, it identified two benchmarks, right, to measure such models, right. One was primarily fresh QA, which primarily does a dynamic Q&A with the bot to probably establishes the accuracy, right, and all these Q&As are generated on the fly, right. And second actually was fresh prompt, right, which is primarily it's kind of a method to improve your LLM's performance with 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 the latest information that you actually get, right? So these two benchmarks is something that really impressed me. But I'm still going through that paper, and that paper is under review. It's not officially released, but I'll just share that as a link if readers are very interested in this, right?
Okay. Now,
Listeners,
if I
sorry.
understand, they don't use the internet data to change the weights dynamically and I would say rebuild the whole LLM. They don't do that. Because that's what Mistral and Llama already has done. So this is the layer on top actually to in order to um, fine tune it
Just build.
further.
Yeah,
So yeah, they just fine tune. They're not like rebuilding altogether. But
got it.
yeah, let's see. I mean, probably we'll try our hands at it and come back. But definitely a good option for enterprise companies. Now you have ChatGPT's, OpenAI's GPT-4 API to
Yeah,
integrate. You have Anthropic's Claude API to integrate. That's where Amazon Bedrock comes in. You have Llama 2 APIs, I mean, from which Hugging Face provides, or you can host your own. And now you have another very good option, which is Perplexity. It's definitely worth looking at. And we will obviously integrate in our stack and for our customers and come back with more results on how this whole thing turns out.
absolutely. How this works. So
Cool.
brilliant. What do we have next?
Next.
I think it. Okay, so I'll probably start with this update. I think I started, but yeah, as I was highlighting, that Abu Dhabi, especially the whole of Middle East, right? Shiva, we've seen this when we were doing cloud also, right, in our previous venture, has been quite limited to their region, right, especially on the data privacy side. I don't think so till the time AWS launched the region, right? There we had any kind of migrations going to AWS, any significant ones, right? So, but on the GenAI side, they've been quite, advanced, right? I think we got Falcon, right, and then we got also Noor, right, from Abu Dhabi, which still remains one of the biggest GPTs in the Arabic area, right? Now, what they've done is Abu Dhabi has now, launched a new company, AI 71, right, which is going to leverage all the three variants of Falcon, right, to start building some of the domain focused use cases, right. And I think initially they want to focus on medical, right, to start with, and then expand into education and legal. They have full amount of support from the government, which is very obviously very critical in Middle East if organizations want to grow. So they have blessings from. In fact, I think it was organized by their prince. Right, they've already partnered with the likes of AWS and PwC in the Middle East region to expand. Right, but the best or the most important thing that they're trying to ascertain or how they're planning to grow this model is decentralizing the data. Right, and I think I started off with the data privacy is one of the biggest concerns that you see over there. So decentralization of the data when they're building these use cases, which means the data will still rest with the users of the LLM, right? It's not going to be as a central pack that they want to pick up. So that's the capability that they're trying to build on top of these domain-specific use cases. So good update, right? Well, obviously Falcon, has been tried multiple times. We built a few use cases, right? But now this being used for very specific domain use cases would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, the Middle East is turning out to be another major powerhouse in the tech space. A lot of investments are happening. I think the Falcon 180B release kind of made heads turn. Though, from my experiments, I'm not super overwhelmed with what Falcon 180B could do because Llama 7B also does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, the numbers are
It's not
massive.
very widely adopted
Uh,
here, right? Correct. And there's a reason, yeah.
yeah, it's just the numbers. It's just 180B, like wow, but the actual performance is like not there yet, and that's where I think
Good.
there is a lesson for all of us to, I mean, for all these big companies to look at what OpenAI has done, that it's not one big thing, it is a million small things. The emphasis is more on that again and again. But a very interesting space. I think Middle East will be one of strong AI power centers, given the way they are already kind of moving ahead. So yeah, let's watch this
But
space
just one
and see
point,
what
Shiva,
comes
one
out.
last point before we move on. Could it be that most of these models that we've seen from Middle East coming in are more from research organizations than from, you know, for-profit organizations, right? Like probably, Llama from Meta and obviously GPT from OpenAI and so on and so forth, right? So could it be that they're focusing more on building accuracy research and so on and so forth, right?
No,
Just one last.
Falcon 180B's issue is accuracy. That's the issue. Uh, right? I mean, accuracy is useless if it's not usable, if the product is not usable. So in case of Falcon 180B, that was the issue, right? It is a very heavy model, but doesn't work as expected. So yeah, see, why
Yeah,
do we have
because
this adage called customer is king? Because the customers decide whether your product is good or shit. Simple as that. So, uh, so the more you work with customers, you will get to know what exactly it's like people and government, right? I mean, people will decide eventually who has to come to the power. Similarly, customers will decide what is a good model, what is a bad model. So yes,
I
research and
think
all that
that
is
is
fine, but
why I really feel I think that is why this company probably will be very beneficial because now they will focus on consumability of these models, right?
exactly,
Rather than research
exactly,
organizations like Tech Innovation Institute, I think came up with the Falcon as a model initially, right?
exactly.
So I think this will be a very good update to see now how they will make it the more consumable, right?
Cool. The next one is a company called Together.ai. They raised about 102.5 million. Again, it's not about the money that they raised. It's about what they're trying to do here, which is to build another model from scratch like Mistral. So the fact that they managed to raise $100 million, so they have enough money power now to actually buy the GPUs, buy their A100s, and start building a model. Let's see what comes out. I think there is some work that has already happened. So waiting for their release, similar to what Mistral uh, did. So let's just see what happens. Voyage is a good customer in the embedding space. I think they already have this customer, which is good. Now we'll have to see what their core model does. So yeah, that's another could be a good Mistral and Meta competitor. But I'm not sure if it's an open source. It's open source, right? So they're a Mistral and Meta competitor actually. Yeah, let's another good one. Another good welcome to the open
Yeah.
source community. Yeah, open source community.
I
Lizer,
was just
we have Lizer as open source, so happy to see another open source out coming out.
And I was just looking at the timeline, right? I think since obviously, when GPT-3 got released, right, last year, right? I think the amount of open source adoption that we've seen or the amount of innovation that has happened in open source obviously is tremendous, right? Especially within the GenAI area, right? So it's yeah, a very good update. Thanks for sharing that, sure.
So the one problem that we continue to see, which we always have seen, even with the pre-AI technologies, like take MongoDB, take Redis, take all the databases, open source stuff, right? It's an uphill task to get these open source things work in a production environment at a production grade or an enterprise grade, ensuring reliability and performance and accuracy, whatever, for the customers, end customers. It's a huge gap, and I see that in AI space, that's even more. Rishabh, you and I were on a customer call today morning. We saw what happened, right? Open source is open source, fantastic, play around, great. But production is like a very different thing because your end customers are going to be using that in production scenario, and you cannot leave things for it's not a pet project anymore. It's not a fun project anymore. It has to work 99.99 out of 100 times it has to work as it is. That's where the SLA is. So yeah, I mean, all these, I would say, releases to open source community is fantastic. And that's where I think we come into picture, where we get these into to the enterprise grade, like many other companies, like what Amazon does, like what Perplexity actually has done. See what does Perplexity what have they done, or what has Cohere done? They've taken these open source models and they're making it enterprise ready. So yeah, good update.
I,
Let's move to the next
I
one.
feel, and that's where I think Shiva Liza is probably doing a bit better job in terms of is you need to build a community, right? So two things, right? I think in the open source, one is the community, and how do you make this more consumable for your sellers are not, or your target audience probably would not be companies, it would be the developers, right? And I think one company that really changed the whole landscape of competition, right, with this was Google, right, when they open sourced Android, right, they took Apple with a storm, right, that I mean still working for them, right, the adaptability that so I think the two things that they
But
got right,
but
one
but
obviously
the
is
point no no but the point there on Android is Android even the Android was consumable at a production grade, at a consumer grade. It was
exactly
pretty
exactly
good actually. So
exactly so they built that
there and
community, right, they built that adaptability right before they actually made it open source, right, and that left
AI
everyone.
generative AI being a non-deterministic model, that's where the issue is. Yeah, let's see what happens. But yeah, great. Welcome addition to the open source world. What
All
do we
right.
have next? Oh, another one. Next one is an interesting one. It is a GitHub release called self-operating computer. I think this is a company called Hyperride. They actually open sourced their product, like how we did. We built Neo Analyst, which is a data analysis product, and we've open sourced it as an SDK. Anyone can run analysis like a Power BI quality or even better analysis locally. Similarly, they've also open sourced their product, and it's a fun little project right now. You can see the video playing here. You can also go and try the GitHub repo. What it does is pretty simple. It uses GPT vision, so it opens up your browser. It just uses GPT vision to capture the frame, and then you can give it a task. Hey, go to Amazon.com and buy me a pair of say Nike shoes, say particular brand. It will it'll through vision and navigating based on the frames that it takes. It goes to the browser, clicks, opens up Amazon.com, searches. So that's how the model works. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
fascinating to see. And this open source model, the moment I saw, I had another startup that came to my mind. It's a company called Induced.ai. There was a recent interview of this very young founder. I think Akash was his name. He came in Jason Calacanis, the This Week in Startups podcast. Pretty interesting. A kid and a good product that they're building. Very similar one, like browser based, vision based model where it captures the vision and then it moves and it gets things done at the browser based. It's like imagine RPA with AI running for your browser. That's what it does. Yeah, but it just shows what is possible, what's yet to come. Um, the only criticism that I have, which I think a lot of people had in Twitter and Reddit when they saw this self-operating computer, is they saw a demo where someone actually, I think it was Wes Roth, who's a popular AI YouTuber. So he was playing around where it could go to Reddit and start writing comments. Now that is where people were getting pissed off a bit because it is like garbage in, garbage out. I mean, when you allow
Yeah,
AI to go and start writing in Reddit and Twitter, what happens? It's like dog fooding, but in a bad sense. AI writes, then AI reads it to train itself, then AI writes. AI, yeah, it's a it's a loop.
that's how you do model collapse, right, Shiva?
And what happens to people like us? Like you love Reddit, I love Reddit. We go there for some long form reading, some real comments, and we get to see this. That's not nice, actually, right? I mean, it's just really. Uh, I mean, we'll stop going to Reddit. We'll stop going to Twitter. I don't know how these companies are going to battle this a browser level bot because it's human. It acts like human. I don't know how these companies are going to battle this. That's a little worrisome.
So there was, and we can call this fan fiction right now, right for now. But there was a very interesting topic going on, right, on X only, like, and especially on this what you just mentioned, right, Shiva, is when while mod collapse is one thing, right, that slowly obviously the accuracy will start because this content is being generated by the model itself, right, which it's getting retrained on, right. But more so, how does the human generated content now on these sites and all the people go to get views and so on and so forth, right? So probably and just again, and that's what I'm calling why I'm calling it fiction right now is will probably people read this content, but then the whole human generated content will come at a premium, right? So you'll have to sign up and pay to read human generated content in future on these such websites, right? So scary thought, but good possibility.
Yeah, no, makes sense. We'll have to wait
All
and see
right.
how things. I mean, all of us are going to be experiencing this in sometime soon. So let's see how this evolves. Yeah. The
Absolutely.
next one, it's an interesting, I think, interview that Elon Musk gave at the recent New York Times event. Andrew Sorkin was the interviewer. So he was asked a lot of things, and he had a pretty, I would say, more than candid response. This one thing about AGI came up. So what was Elon's? We know that he's also building Grok, and now that he's
Yeah.
also fully on, like understands really what is happening. They have few OpenAI engineers who are working. I believe Ilya might probably go back to Grok, possibly. I think let's see what happens there. But now that he knows a little more about it, so what he claims is
I
that
doubt, but
AGI is probably 3 years away is what he claims. AGI could write, say, I mean, can even invent new scientific things. I mean, it can invent genomes, new particles. Today there was a news about Google's DeepMind genome was able to identify invent new particles, or discover new
Mhm.
particles. Apparently,
Yeah.
discover is the right word. So that's what he says. We'll have to wait and see. Sam Altman's story, which is the follow-up story, is even more curious. But yeah, that's what Elon had to say.
I'm more interested in Sam Altman's now because the kind of statements that I think he initially had given 2029 as a timeline. Right. Well, I'm a big fan, by the way, just on the side note. I've read his biography. Uh, but yeah, I am more interested in the Sam Altman updates
Yeah,
now.
let's dive into that. I mean, okay, let's probably share what he said. Sam Altman said in a press statement that Q star was an unfortunate leak. That's the word. That's the word that's triggering everybody. When somebody says it's an unfortunate leak, it means that it is there, and then all the things about Q star seems to be true, whatever that paper claims. What does it claim? Q star is used to achieve AGI,
Yes.
or forms of AGI internally. So if we just go through this path, then it seems to be kind of pretty evident that OpenAI has achieved some sort of AGI. Number one. Number two, he also followed up again in the press release that, hey, like we said earlier, we'll continue to move fast, and this technology will move even faster. So he's kind of alluding towards this. But now, having said
Yeah.
this, there is another faction which says, you know what, all these are marketing gimmicks. They're doing this to raise another $50 billion, whatever. They want money to sustain the amount of burn that they have, cash burn that they have. The technology is definitely good, but AGI, Q-star powered AGI, all this is a big question mark, is the other faction. It's Sam Altman is a fantastic operator. He knows how to uh, take things to the world. Being at 8 years at Y Combinator, 8, 9 years at Y Combinator obviously puts you in a pole position when it comes to presenting something really, really well. So yeah, these are the two things. I am right in the middle. I want to believe that Q-Star is
Yeah.
actually what Q-Star is, but I also, with all the drama that happened in the last 1 month, I'm also kind of one leg on the other side. Hey, you know what? Is it all just marketing? That's my view. What do you think?
But if they are attempting to build this Shiva, I think whatever happened is if they are attempting, right, which I believe they are, now they will, right. Now it's now whatever happened probably is now Sam Altman is has the baton, right? Whatever the board was trying to do, now it has changed, right? I think what scared me the most about is the statement that Sam Altman made, right? Is Greg and I are part of this whole organization. We've been struggling to highlight that in the org structure, but we'll make sure that happens. So that's something that he has released on X, right? So yeah. So I think in short, what's coming out is if they are planning to build this, right, which I really believe they are, they will now, right? While there would have been questions in the past, would they put a control to this and so on and so forth, but
Yeah.
they will now.
Okay. Okay.
Like
What you're
Sam
saying
Altman
is
had to
that
say.
what you're saying is that he kind of made a statement, kind of saying that you know what we have nobody in front of us now. We can do whatever we want.
It's a very multifaceted statement, right? So it's a scary statement, right?
He also wanted to build an
And,
iPhone, right? We also wanted to build an iPhone type, an AI phone, actually. So, yeah, I think
but now he has access to money and Microsoft,
not.
right? So
Hmm.
right. So yeah. So I'm not. I'm really excited to see what happens next. But yeah, I'm pretty confident if they're building, they will now, right? So there's like no coming back, right?
Let's see.
So
Let's see. I mean, next week is going to be interesting, and more now that he's fully on, back on, we'll probably get to hear more actually from them. Okay,
exactly.
last one, Meditron. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think again a very interesting update. EPFL right has launched Meditron. This is again with a lot of these models now being built, now everything coming to sense, people now putting this to use and so on and so forth. Right? So that's why I'm very excited about this update. So on Llama 2, and I think they've leveraged 7B and 70B if I'm not wrong, right, versions to build Meditron, right, which is a very medically focused GPT, right, LLM that they've released. Uh, uh, one of the updates or probably the literature that they've actually used is PubMed, right, and a lot of clinical guidelines data that they have access to, right. But I think the most important piece to this is the initial experimentation has shown that it performs much better than GPT 3.5 and 4, which is okay, right, because GPT 3.5 and 4 are not medically trained LLMs. But what was more interesting is that this performed much better than Google's MedPalm as well,
Medfarm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which again is a medic is probably a GPT that's focused towards the medicine side of things, right? So
No,
yeah,
this
so two
is.
things, right?
Go ahead.
Now I'm saying two things, right? So one obviously is it has performed in the initial test. It has must perform much better than the general, as well as your domain specific LLMs in this space, right? And number two is that they've open sourced this, right? So that's another interesting piece to see, right? Especially in this type of a regulated industry, right? How this gets consumed in because we work with a lot of healthcare companies today, Shiva, and I think I was speaking to you about one implementation that we're trying where we are trying to do some kind of a clinician's agent, right? But I think the data access primarily, and then in this type of a heavily regulated industry, use cases are there, but then implementing this is quite a bold step, right? So I think they've open sourced this. So let's see how this gets consumed in actual business use cases. But in the
No, I mean
initial
this is.
performance test, it has come out well. Yeah,
Now, this is a great news for all the healthcare startups and healthcare companies, not just startups, companies who've been in this space for many years now. This is fantastic. This just opens up a lot of opportunities. This is good. This is a good update as well.
so this is a debate that we were having last week with a customer, right? A very good customer. We were speaking to the CTO, right, Shiva, and they actually come from debt, collection industry, right? They have a platform that does debt collection. So again, like healthcare, that area is also very regulated, right? So I think one thing that is coming out in such areas is like how do you control the regulations and how do you ensure the model doesn't deflect, or probably there is no harm that happens to the fraternity, right? So instead of these models being directly consumed for end users, there are a lot of enablement use cases that are coming, like agent enablement. I was speaking about clinician's agent, right? Similarly, in debt recovery, your agents help, like to whom to give the loan or to not, right? So these are the type of use cases that we are seeing heavily in these regulated industries, right? Successfully being implemented.
Nice. I mean, yeah, let's. I think, like you said, more of these specialized. That's what we call it as an. Sometimes we call it as an ASI, like artificial specialized intelligence, to do a particular task really, really well. IBM came up with a term called SLM instead of
Mm-hmm.
LLM. LLM stands for large language models. So IBM says small language models, which is take a 7B, train it only for your particular company, and within your company, just one particular function, and deploy it and run locally. So that is called SLM, which is small language models, which can do the job, just that job really, really well, like a supercomputer doing a particular job, which is an interesting concept. I'm quite intrigued by that concept. So I think there are both sides to it. One is we see these SLMs coming into place. One we see is the other we see is the ASI coming into place, which is artificial specialized intelligence, uh, or probably like what we are seeing here right now today with Meditron, which is an generative AI, but for a use case. They are not ASI, they are not an SLM, but they are again for a particular use case. Interesting updates. Okay,
Brilliant.
so
I
that
think
brings us to the end of the second episode. Hope you all liked it. We will probably come back with more interesting updates. And Rishabh, over to you. What do you have to?
No, I think interesting update. Thanks so much, Shiva, for sharing and participating in this. Looking forward to the next episode. I think, as Shiva mentioned in our previous podcast, we're going to continue to bring you updates. But I think some of these podcasts we'll try, because we work with a lot of these startup leaders where we're building cutting edge products for them. So we'll probably try to bring in some of these startup leaders who are closer to implementing this along with us, right? And how they're leveraging GenAI to probably build business use cases and monetizing it, especially for their platforms, right? So I think in the coming podcast, we'll see some first-hand narration across these interviews as well.
Fantastic. Thank you all. Take care. See
Great.
you next time.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.